Hey guys, it's Wishlyst. If you don't know me, I'm a songwriter and music producer releasing music under Wishlyst and Wish on the Beat, and my past life was classical cellist Emily Plays Cello. I'm back here on YouTube for another big exciting life update. The last time I was on here doing a little talking vlog like this, it was that I got married. Well, guess what? I'm pregnant. I know, I'm just like stacking the life events one after another, but here I am, pregnant Wishlyst. I wanted to do a little life update vlog talking about being pregnant and also getting into some more pregnancy related topics, specifically to being a freelance musician and how I plan to approach my pregnancy and also motherhood as a musician. So if you're kind of like not into pregnant stuff or you don't care that I'm pregnant, that's totally fine. You don't have to watch this vlog. If you happen to be someone who came across my stuff because you're pregnant or you're a mom or you're a musician mom, something like that, then great, welcome, happy to have you here on my channel. Most importantly, even though I'm obviously going to be making a lot of transitions and changes, music is going to keep coming as it always does, maybe at a different pace, maybe with a different approach, maybe with the same approach, but music will always be here. And if you're like, hey, Wishlyst, you don't look pregnant, I'm 24 weeks along as I'm writing this vlog. My baby is due the first week of August, so I'm gonna have a Leo, which is awesome. As an Aquarius, a little Leo baby feels like the perfect partner, and it is going to be a little girl. This pregnancy has been a lot of ups and downs. I'm happy now to be sort of in that glorious phase where things are not really annoying. So that's part of why I'm here doing this vlog now, giving you guys this update. But yeah, pregnancy is definitely crazy. This is my first legit pregnancy. A backstory that kind of sets the whole stage for all of this is that my very first pregnancy, the first time I ever got pregnant, was actually last summer, and it was unplanned, so everything about that was a complete curveball to me and my partner at the time. He's still my partner, of course, he's just my husband now, but it was a very shocking, unplanned sort of thing to happen, but it really catapulted us into a lot of conversations about what we wanted and where we saw our life going, and it made us realize that actually having a kid sounded pretty cool. Unfortunately, I did naturally have a miscarriage at about 10 weeks into that pregnancy. That was very hard, but also something that I understand is so common for so many women, especially in my age bracket, but also just in general, miscarriages happen, especially early ones like what I had. And while it was definitely disappointing and something I had to adjust to, I'm very thankful for what I went through going through that short phase of being pregnant, because it really did show me a lot about what I wanted, what I was capable of, and it just opened my eyes to a lot of things. So I'm very thankful for the experience, and it makes me even more grateful to be pregnant now and so much further along in pregnancy, everything going well. You really don't take it for granted when you go through something like that. So I really believe everything happens for a reason, and I'm super happy to be where I'm at right now. Every woman, no matter what career path you're in, goes through a massive transition when getting ready to become a mother, and so many questions come up about, you know, what your life was before being a mother, how that's gonna change, how you're gonna approach your career, your marriage, your partnership, whatever you're in. Becoming a mom changes a lot of that, so I've definitely been deep in a lot of those types of reflections. I've been doing a lot of reading and just kind of getting myself in gear for the kind of mom I want to be and how I want to approach my career moving forward, also having a baby in the mix and even just being pregnant. Growing up, I was not one of those women that like dreamed of having babies and being pregnant. I love kids. I've been teaching kids since I was a teenager. I started teaching cello lessons to elementary schoolers, and I continued through my 20s and 30s teaching students of all ages, I mean up through adults, but kids as young as 3 or 4, but a lot of times I was concentrating on like older elementary school and middle school students. That was kind of my favorite age to teach, but also taught high school students. So I've had over 15 going on 20 years of experience working with kids, and I've always really enjoyed working with kids, found it like just an awesome experience. But babies were not like my favorite thing in the world. I'm a very verbal person. I like to communicate verbally. My mom was the same way. So babies, they don't speak English yet. It's like it was always a little harder for me to get in the groove with babies. I love animals, but babies just, they were okay, but they were also like smelly and slimy, and made a lot of noises and couldn't really do that much. So like I was just not really into babies, and so therefore like pregnancy and all that stuff like never really had much of an allure to me. But I did always think about having kids, wanting kids. My mom got so much purpose out of having me and my brother, and so I really saw what that did for her, and she really told me a lot about that growing up. So having kids was an appealing thing, but I never like glamorized pregnancy or babies or anything like that. So being pregnant has been like a bit of a mixed bag for me. You know, some women talk about like how they love the changes and they feel so empowered, and like that was not my experience, has not been my experience. If anything, pregnancy just makes me more excited to have a kid and no longer be pregnant. I didn't have it as bad as it could be. Pregnancy is so different for everybody. I did have, you know, morning sickness, which is not appealing. Apparently, it's more common to have morning sickness at all, or more severe morning sickness if you're carrying a girl, which I was, and it's also more common to have worse morning sickness your first pregnancy. So for me, having the double whammy of this my first real pregnancy plus carrying a girl, I definitely had a couple weeks in there where I was like, not good, not cool, didn't feel great. I'm thankful that I was not throwing up constantly. I just felt terrible constantly, fatigued, couldn't do much. My body started just inflating like a balloon. Everything about how I felt physically was pretty miserable. And it took until about 15 weeks into my pregnancy to feel like things leveled out. And then unfortunately, right about that time, 15, 16 weeks, I went on a cross-country trip because my best childhood friend in the world is also now has her first baby, a girl. So our little girls are definitely going to be besties just like we were. But she was at the end of her pregnancy when I was about 17, 18 weeks. And I flew out to Pittsburgh to see her for her baby shower, which was really special because we were pregnant at the same time. And both she and I, again, didn't idolize motherhood, so just to see us kind of on the other side of this now, getting ready to become moms, was really special. But unfortunately, traveling across the country in the wintertime with a pregnancy immune system, because spoilers, when you're pregnant, your immune system just sucks. Like I've been very healthy. I pretty much rarely, I went about in the COVID era when nobody was exposed to anything and people were wearing masks, I went like 3 to 4 years with no colds whatsoever. I never got COVID, and I hadn't had a flu in about 15 years, but I got the flu in my traveling because pregnancy immune system, it just isn't good. It's so that your immune system doesn't attack your baby. I guess that's important, but your immune system basically sucks when you're pregnant. So I got the flu for the first time in 15 years. It took me out for like 10 days. So I was just starting to like feel okay about being pregnant. Then I got the flu and I was like down bad. So being pregnant comes with a lot of stuff like that. You're just, even though I'm eating as healthy as I always have, I'm actually being more active. I do prenatal Pilates twice a week, which I never even like really worked out. I just walked and ate well. I'm doing all this stuff to take care of my body, and yet my body is like weaker and more compromised than ever. So pregnancy things. Once I finally got over that flu, I've now entered a phase of pregnancy where I'm feeling pretty decent other than getting larger all the time. So I'm thankful for that. It's not gonna get easier. I'm gonna get bigger. Things are gonna get uncomfortable, but I'm just like happy to be in a decent place and happy that it's not worse. And the best part of all is that there's been no complications in my pregnancy. My baby is developing great. All the ultrasounds look awesome. She's a great size. She's healthy. No strange things. No genetic issues. So I am just so thankful that I'm having a very like healthy, uncomplicated pregnancy so far. And if I have to suffer a little bit along the way, it'll just be the beginning in a long line of suffering that I will do in order for my daughter to have a great life. So taking it all in stride. Now let's talk a little bit, that's enough on the pregnancy stuff, let's talk a little bit about like my career stuff and how I'm approaching it, because I want to do a little bit more content here about this transition into motherhood as a freelance musician, because I actually noticed there's not a lot of content out there on YouTube about musicians approaching motherhood, and it's a very interesting career to be in if you're trying to become a parent, and especially a mother who has a little bit more on her plate in the early stages of having a kid. So, you know, one of the reflections that I'm just really thankful for is that I've had a long career as a musician. I started out after I finished my undergrad and my master's degree. I was a freelance Baroque cellist in Boston. So most of my living was from teaching private lessons and then performing live concerts at all different types of venues as a soloist with my string quartet in orchestras. So I really made my money by being out there and doing things, whether it was showing up to my students' home for a lesson or showing up at a rehearsal or a concert. That was how I made my money. And I did that for many years in Boston. And when I moved to LA in 2017, I started to transition. I kept teaching a bit, but that's when I started getting more serious about music production and songwriting and doing a bit more of that. And at first, pre-COVID era, I was trying to have sessions with other people, more in-person work. But COVID did that catalyst for everyone. Everyone kind of reevaluated their career. And even though I was producing music from home, from my home studio at that time, 2020 gave me the opportunity to really double down and do that. That's when I launched Wish on the Beat, my lo-fi beat project. I kept releasing Wishlyst songs, and I just really focused on being at home in my home studio, writing and producing music and releasing it independently. And I got a lot of traction there. And so now most of my life is being at home, writing and producing music and earning my income more from passive royalties that I earn from my streaming and from some of my credits that I have with larger artists, rather than having to get out there and perform to earn money or teach to earn money. And I'm so thankful for that transition, not only because I'm introverted and because the musician lifestyle of like running around is very exhausting, but now it's going to make my transition into motherhood so much easier because I'm going to be able to work from home, which is something my mom did when I was growing up. And I work on my own schedule, I'm my own boss. I can decide my own releases, how often I do it, and most importantly, all the money that I've worked to generate over the last couple of years releasing music is now passive income. So I make those royalty payments every month, regardless of if I release new music, though of course releasing new music only increases that and makes it a better situation for me, and of course is my creative outlet and my passion in life. But I've really set myself up in a great position for motherhood by making these transitions into passive income. I also have a couple courses that I sell through Emily Plays Cello, like my How to Play Cello course, which again was work when I made it, though I did film it at home, and is now a passive income stream. So I'm so grateful, not only that I have set up a very flexible, at-home based type of career for myself as a musician, but also that my husband has a really great job with a really generous paternity leave. So he is also going to be very much on board for the beginning stages of our baby's life. Still getting his paycheck, but getting to be home with me and the baby. That's amazing. And to be honest, you know, I think millennials in particular, women, we're in such a tough position these days deciding about how to parent and if we're going to be able to parent and afford it, and childcare and getting back to work. It's kind of like the worst time in the world because we're so career focused. We really expect these dual income situations where both partners are earning a ton of money. And it's like, where does that leave space for raising a tiny baby? I mean, it really doesn't. And I have to say, even though I wanted kids, you know, having a baby was something that I really didn't want to do if the conditions weren't right. And I didn't feel like I had the appropriate support. So, you know, besides my husband loving babies probably more than I do and having a great work situation, I also have my work situation that's transition. And all of these things combined are what really made it feel like, okay, I'm ready to have a baby. I can do this because all these things are in place. And I have so much sympathy for, you know, families that don't have as many resources, that don't have the flexibility in the career. So I would say, like, if you're a musician or you're someone who's thinking about having kids in the next couple years, it's worth considering how you can make your career more flexible, more focused on passive income, more working from home, just things you can do to set yourself up so that it's not such a drastic change when you have to bring a kid into this world. Now, I know I'm saying all of this as someone who does not have a baby yet. This is all potentials. I'm acting like, yeah, I got this perfect setup. We'll see what happens when the baby's here. But I'm still trying to do everything in my power to make me feel like I can raise a baby in the way that I want to, and also still continue to keep my creative work going in a way that makes sense. It was very important to me to be a working mom to some degree because that's what my mom was. My parents did also split up when I was young. So like my mom was working full time when I was young, and I grew up seeing my mom work, but she did transition into working from home when I was pretty young. So I saw my mom in her home office. It's no surprise that here I am in my home office. I think it's one of the reasons I'm so ambitious and why I've worked as hard in my career is because that's what I saw my mom doing growing up. So it was very important to me that I still set an example for my daughter that you can follow your dreams, you can have a passion career, you can put in the work and do whatever you want to do. That being said, that's not a conceivable concept to an infant. So I don't need to be like hustling and grinding back at work with a tiny baby who doesn't know the difference and just wants to be fed and cuddled. So I'm gonna be able to sort of transition into being very present for my infant, for my baby, for my newborn, working when she's napping and, working around her schedule. And then as she transitions to be a bit older, she eventually starts school herself, then I can easily transition back into working more and setting that example for her the way my mom did for me. Backtracking a little bit to being pregnant, I had to set very realistic goals for myself given how I was feeling. I think there was a misconception for myself and I think for others that you think, oh, when the baby gets here, it's gonna be crazy. So do as much as you can while you're pregnant. It's your last chance to just be yourself but I have to be honest, being pregnant is not being yourself. You're carrying a parasite the whole time. Like my body is not my own. My bodily functions are not my own. Everything gets sidelined so that my baby gets my resources, my nutrients, my energy. So I don't feel like myself that much pregnant, especially not in the whole beginning stretch of it. So I was a little naive to think, oh, I'm gonna produce tons of music and put out a ton of releases before the baby gets here. And then I was just taken out by pregnancy. So now that I'm feeling a little bit better, I have gotten my gears going. I am currently working on chapter 7 for Wish on the Beat. So that's gonna be a collection of original lo-fi beats. I did already have some releases this year. I had acoustic ambience with Wish on the Beat, acoustic ambience 2, which are drumless mixes of some of my most popular Wish on the Beat tracks. So they're very mellow, chill, no drums, just acoustic instruments and good vibes. And I have been working on Wishlyst cover songs as well, but especially because Wishlyst music for me, those are all songs with vocals in addition to the instrumentals that I produce. They're a lot more demanding, and I found especially being pregnant, comping vocals and stuff like that, especially when I had the flu for 10 days and then was recovering, it was so much harder for me to get that work done. And even Wish on the Beat instrumental tracks that are usually pretty easy for me to crank out, play my instruments, record, produce, mix, I was so amazed that I just got so much more tired. I used to be able to just plow through hours of production work and then feel great. Now when I do hours of production work, I need to lay on the couch like a corpse for a good hour afterwards. It's because so much of my energy is going to building this human. So I have to be more flexible with my goals that I set for myself during pregnancy, but also taking advantage of the times when I do feel good. So especially now, the last couple weeks that I'm feeling good, that's why I'm hustling on getting chapter 7 done. I think chapter 7 will release in the late summer, early fall, but the singles are gonna start rolling out within the next couple weeks. So definitely keep an eye on Wish on the Beat Spotify or wherever you listen to music. If you like my lo-fi beats, make sure you're following there and then you'll get the songs on release radar, because within a couple weeks, tons of new Wish on the Beat tracks coming and hopefully a couple new Wishlyst cover songs as well. I'm just not pressuring myself with the timeline of those as much. So yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of different kinds of updates now that I'm pregnant. I do wanna share things again about how I'm sort of approaching motherhood as a musician, how I'm balancing my work life with raising my daughter in a way where I can be very present. I've definitely read a lot of parenting books already, particularly focused on the newborn stage and infancy, since that's what I have to deal with first. We'll get to those toddler years in elementary school when the time comes, but especially babies, I don't have as much experience with as I do older kids. So just really getting educated about that and making decisions for myself of how I want to mother. And I definitely want to be very present and available for my child in the first couple of years. So I'm going to be sharing ways moving forward of sort of how I manage that, how I balance everything, because I do think women need more resources and more inspiration and encouragement to be there for their young kids if that's what they want to do. Because right now there's a ton of encouragement about returning to the workforce, get your kids into daycare, and just get back to work. And, some people don't have that option and everyone parents differently. There's no one size fits all for parenting, but I just want to share what I'm kind of learning along the way and kind of just open up a little bit about that here on this channel, because being pregnant and having a kid is now one of my biggest creative projects I've got going on. Like I said, music's still happening, still working on that, incorporating that very much into my parenthood and motherhood. but it is one of my big projects. So I'm gonna be sharing more about that here. If you're new to the channel, definitely subscribe if that kind of stuff interests you. If you're a musician or a new mom or pregnant for the first time, I would love to just like hear your comments and hear you share stuff. I'm kind of looking to create like a little bit more of a like new mom musician vibe here on the channel. And again, if you happen to watch this whole video and you have no interest in pregnancy and babies and all that stuff, don't worry, it's not the only thing I'm gonna talk about. I'm not just gonna become like a pregnancy influencer now, but I'm someone who I've had many iterations of social media, YouTube channels. I had my whole classical cello YouTube channel before I had the Wishlyst channel. I've just had so many outlets online, and I like to continuously evolve and sort of change the stuff that I'm talking about to be most relevant to my life and what's important to me at that time. The most authentic thing I can do is share that with you guys and be honest about it and open up some interesting conversations, hopefully. So thank you guys for watching. If you're excited that I'm having a little baby wish list, we do have a registry set up. I'm gonna link it in the description. There's a lot of like cute little and like music related, animal related, fun little stuff. If you wanna shoot something to us on the registry, no pressure at all, just sharing it for anybody who wants to see. I'm also very proud of all the products that I've curated. I spent a long time on the registry, finding the best products, really researching, you know, healthy, non-toxic things, but also stuff that's aesthetically cool. I'm like getting way too into like buying baby gear. So I'm just proud of my registry in general. So you can check it out in the description, as well as the links to my Spotify projects. Make sure you're following me there if you're not already. And let me know if there's specific things you might want to see me talk about. I think when we get the nursery all set up, I might have a little nursery reveal, because that's another creative project that's been really fun, is kind of picking out everything that's going to go in there, designing it. And I have a lot of opinions about like baby toys too, and how I'm going to incorporate music into our baby's life and expose her to certain things. So I have a lot of ideas for like upcoming baby videos to post, but if you have thoughts and ideas, things you want to see, definitely let me know. Also, my cat's meeting my baby. That's going to be exciting. They've been clingy ever since I got pregnant. My cats never leave me alone. So I think they're just trying to get in their mommy time as much as they can before they have to compete with a small little screaming infant. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Keep an eye out for those new Wish on the Beat releases, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye from my large bump.